being called the N-word in schools. So we're very excited and very honored and privileged to have Toshira Garraway in the building or on the line from Family Support and Families Against Police Violence. Say what's up to the Twin Cities.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm so grateful to be here this evening to talk about these serious issues that we really just have to keep chucking away at the oppression and the corruption that's going on, here in Minnesota and around the United States, around the world. But I'm very grateful to continue to do the work and continue to come alongside people that's been out here doing the work. And um, I'm just very grateful to fight alongside of you, my brother Trahern, and just chip away at this corruption.
Honored. I'm honored to be working with you too. Um, so a couple weeks, about how many weeks ago? What I'm gonna take we're gonna take a quick, just take a quick. A couple weeks ago, your child and a couple other children were detained by the Maplewood Police Department. Um, and they were just on their way to the store. Check this out.
The Metro Police Department is under pressure after putting 4 kids in handcuffs for a crime they did not commit. Maplewood police detained the 4 kids earlier this week after a shots fired call. This morning, we have body camera video from that controversial encounter. Our Pauline Lee live outside the Maplewood Police Department this morning to break down what that video shows. Pauline.
Yeah, Jason. Well, those kids, they range in age from 10 to 16, and it turns out they weren't even involved. So take a look at this. This is the video that was released by Maplewood Police of an officer's body camera. A 911 caller reported seeing 4 people on surveillance video near his property after hearing gunshots. The police stopped the 4 kids to ask them some questions, and they later handcuffed them and put them in the back of squad cars for several minutes. Not long after their parents arrived and demanded they be let go, the kids were released.
There, right there, is where you should be saying, I'm sorry to us mothers, instead of trying to justify it and say, oh, we only had them for this amount of time. It doesn't matter if you had them for 5 seconds. You put them in handcuffs and you threw them in the back of a car.
Now, Maplewood police say they are proud of their officers' actions and they acted professionally. The attorney of the families involved, they alluded to a possible lawsuit.
Toshira, you want to comment on that? Were you proud of the officers' actions?
No, I was not, and I wish that it was as smoothly as they tried to put it out in the media like it happened that smoothly. I believe that from listening to my son and the other children, it was actually some torturing things happening during the time that they just were quote unquote asking them questions. That wasn't the case. It was other things going on. They were cursing at the kids. They were grabbing at their guns and unlatching them out of their holster. There was a barking dog. And again, they were thrown in handcuffs. And then if anybody ever has been in back of a squad car, it looks like a jail already. So there was a few things that were going on. In addition to that, for my son, he told me, Mom, I let the officer know that the cuffs were too tight. He grabbed me and made them even tighter. And then he said, Mom, I told him again that the cuffs, he said, no, I said the cuffs were too tight. And then the officer grabbed him again and tightened them again for a second time. So it wasn't as smooth as they tried to make it seem, that they just, grabbed the kids, asked them a couple questions, moms showed up, and then they just released them. It didn't go smooth like that.
Why did they say, so where were the kids coming from?
The kids were coming from a McDonald's that is literally like across the street from my home and the other neighbors that the kids that live over here. The littler kids had asked my son, who's 16, would he walk them to McDonald's, and with the parents' permission, they said yes.
Okay. And then the police said that they heard gunshots.
Yeah, they said they heard gunshots but the gunshots were quite a bit down from where the McDonald's was, especially between the time that they got the call and made it to the kids. If our children were down that way, there was no way they would have been able to make it down where they were crossing the street from McDonald's in that amount of time. And also I wanted to add the kids that they were originally looking for did not fit the description of our children at all. For one, they were way bigger kids. They look like 18, 19. Two, our kids were 10 years old, two 12-year-olds, and then a 16-year-old. That's who they did all of this to, handcuffed and everything. And then they didn't have on the same clothing or anything as the ones they were looking for. In addition to that, even the video that I looked at for the kids that they were looking for, they are not even seen on camera shooting a gun. You see four bigger kids, almost look like adults, walking, and then you hear a loud noise. That could be a gunshot, but it could have been something else as well, because you never see them on the video shooting a gun at all. And
Wow.
so they never found any shell casings. Even in the video, when you hear the loud noise, you don't see any smoke or anything like that. They didn't find a gun. There was just nothing that they found that night that they did that.
How are the kids doing?
For like a week, my son, he seems like his spirits was really down. And I remember him saying to me, he said, we were talking about the whole thing, and then at the end, before he left out of my room, he said, I just want to be treated like a person, you know. And I think the way that they were grabbing on the kids and stuff, I remember my son's talking about the littler kid that the police was grabbing on, the 10-year-old, and he said he was just grabbing him like he was a dog or a rag doll, and he's a person. He didn't have to grab on him like that. And my son, I'm really grateful that he called me that night, because none of the officers called any of the parents. They pat our children down twice. They pat them down. They didn't have a gun on them. And they were talking to them for damn near 25 minutes before they just out of the blue said, okay, time's up. Grab the kids, put them in the handcuffs. They brought a canine dog. You could hear that barking when I pulled up. And the only reason I knew about what was going on is because after my son was handcuffed and put inside this police car, he asked, can I call my mom? And I'm just really kind of bothered by the fact that you had my child for almost 45 minutes and you never thought one time that his mom needed to get called or any of those parents. And another mom, she showed up before me, a couple minutes before me. And the only reason why she found out what was going on is because she was walking. She had given permission for her daughter to go to McDonald's right across the street. So she realized that they were taking too long to come back. It just seemed like, why would it take this long to go to McDonald's? So she started walking down the street, and she happened to stop and ask the officers, have they seen 4 kids? And lo and behold, they had our children in the squad car. She didn't even know when she walked up that her 12-year-old daughter was handcuffed inside of this squad car.
Wow. See, and this is what we're talking. And so they never called none of the parents.
No, none of them. And also, one of the little girl is so terrified. She didn't even want to go to school for like a week after it happened, because there's like an officer that works at the school. And, that's just terrifying. Little Caucasian girls get treated like princesses, and
Right.
ours get thrown in the back of squad cars
And handcuffed.
in handcuffs with a barking dog. And another thing, the little girl, she's so terrified because there was a point where she started screaming hysterically as I was, yelling at the officers to please let the kids out of the car and get rid of the canine, the barking dog. And so there was a point where the little girl started screaming hysterically, and she told me a few days later that the reason that she was screaming like that is because while I was yelling at the officers to let the kids out, she seen one of the officers grab his gun and unlock it out of the holster. And she was screaming hysterically because she was trying to tell us. Her and the other 10-year-old were the only two that were in the car together. The other two kids were, because they were all in separate cars except those two. And those two, the 10-year-old and the little boy and the 12-year-old little girl, were both screaming hysterically because they were trying to tell us that he had just unlatched his gun out of his holster. And it looked like to her, she said, that as if he was getting ready to pull it up, and that's when she started screaming hysterically.
Please like and share this program. We're talking to Toshira Garraway. She's the founder of Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence. Her son and 3 other children, one was a young female and one was as young as 10 years old, were detained by the Maplewood Police Department, accused of having a gun. So not only is it traumatizing how the police will put you in a car, handcuff you, have you, but then just being accused of something you did not do, and you're only 10 years old, or you're a young a young child. So could you just go into a little bit of that, the 10-year-old?
Yeah, the 10-year-old, I had asked him, did he see what the little girl saw? And his eyes got so big. And even though he's 10, he's really little. So
Right.
he looks like, in size, he actually looks like he's about 8 years old. And I mean, sometimes I sit here and think, like, how could they even have a heart? If you look at this little boy, you look at his size, he was like the most cooperative, probably in the beginning. Both of those guys, the littler ones, the 10-year-old and 12-year-old, the smaller children, they did run. But then when they seen my son and the little girl, the bigger kids stayed. Then they came back. And the reason that they ran, I want to add, you can't really tell this story without adding what has happened previously in these children's lives. One of the little boys that ran, his brother was just killed in a police chase 6 months ago. His big brother, who was 14, Marcos Paramo, was killed in a police chase out here in Maplewood, and they treated the kids really, really bad in that situation as well. And so he lost his brother in that police chase, and ever since then he's been really scared, plus the other harassment that's been going on since then. But he was so scared that him and the 10-year-old went and hid under a U-Haul truck. And then what they told me is they realized they didn't do anything wrong. It was just their natural reaction as being little children. But see, our kids, our Black kids aren't allowed to react like children would act.
Right.
They're suspects if they act like how normal little children, when they're afraid, would act, right? And so, but they came back. They came back, and then after they came back, they cooperated the whole time, up until they just said, "Okay, time's up. You're going into the handcuffs." So, but the 10-year-old, his eyes got so big, and he said he told me, yes, he was trying to explain how the officer had put his hand on his gun and unlatched it out of the holster. So all of these kids, the other little boy, he ran home crying, who lost his brother already out here, saying, "I just got arrested." And he was crying, telling that to his mom. And I could hear it in my son when my son called me, or the officer dialed my number and put the phone on his lap because my son was still in handcuffs. So when my son, I could hear something break inside of him. And he was saying, "Mom, they're saying I got a gun and they see me on camera shooting a gun. Mom, they didn't see me on the camera shooting a gun. I was coming from McDonald's. I took the little kids to McDonald's. Mom, please, Mom, come." So I could hear the fear in my son. And they weren't asking them a couple questions. They were literally telling them that they were seen on video shooting a gun.
Wow. When I seen the 10-year-old get out the car, I got really angry and I was upset. That had me really upset. What do you want to see happen right now?
Well, I want to see those officers be held accountable instead of, the people like the lieutenant and all those other guys going on the news and saying they're proud of their behavior and they're proud of this is how you reinforce that type of behavior. I mean, I don't even think, but like I know for a fact they didn't fire anybody and or suspend anybody,
Mm-mm.
but at the bare minimum, for God's sakes, yeah, I mean, they didn't even call to even apologize for having the wrong children in their custody.
Right.
They didn't even do that. And so the only thing they've been trying to do from the beginning is pretty much say how justified it was because they quote unquote heard gunshots in the area. They're not thinking about the trauma they've caused our kids, how that was mistreatment to tighten the cuffs on my son to go get a barking canine dog. They don't recognize any of that as being mistreatment. And I think that's what hurts the most. And I really just want to see this whole department be held accountable for their lack of leadership, their lack of they talk about all the time they want to build a relationship with the community. You and I, Trahern, this past winter after Marcos was killed, we got Trahern, you brought coats to give away to the children. We had pizza. We had, a little face paintings and all this kind of stuff just to bring the children together to try to empower them and uplift their spirits. Trahern, you've done many marches with me where we gave out cupcakes to the kids. For my son dedicated his birthday to his friend Marcos, who was killed. And so we're doing things to uplift their spirits after the police beat them down
Right.
mentally and emotionally, and then they do something, and then we're just back at square one. So I want to see these people honestly be held accountable. And I would also like the video footage is released, the unredacted, altered videos. And right now they're denying us of that. And they're saying that Michelle Gross with Communities United Against Police Brutality requested it, as well as the attorney Jeff Storms requested those videos because the other parents have not been allowed to see those videos. I only seen one of them, and then the other parents have not been able to see them. And I think it's right and fair as mothers that they get to see what happened to their children that night. And they're saying that there's under investigation. I don't know what they're investigating, if they've clearly admitted that the kids that our children were innocent. So what else are you investigating? If you're investigating the other gunshots, that has absolutely nothing to do with the footages of the innocent children. So we would really, I'm demanding as a mother that they give us those footages because we deserve that.
Absolutely. So those are the demands. We're gonna keep fighting for those. I have a couple more questions, then I know you got stuff to do tonight. So why did you start Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence?
Well, 12 years ago, the father of my son, Justin Teigen, he was pulled over by the St. Paul police. And then after he was pulled over by the St. Paul police, that same night, he had this whole interaction with them. He ended up dead in a trash dumpster, beaten all over his body. And so there's so many things that have led our family to strongly believe without a doubt in our hearts that the St. Paul police murdered my son's father, Justin Teigen. And after that, um, I continued on my journey of just seeking justice for him. But back in '09, there was not a movement. There was not a Black Lives Matter. There was not any attorneys that was hardly taking these cases at all. And I was literally out here, literally by myself, fighting up against one of the deadliest police departments in the United States. And so, and the deadliest in Minnesota. Which is the St. Paul Police Department. And so as I continued to fight, I ended up meeting other mothers, such as Kim Handy Jones. I started to meet Delshia Perry and Monique Colliers Jody, even you, Trahern, all type of Matilda Smith, just meeting all these families. And so I had talked to Miss Kim, and I had talked to Michelle Gross, and we knew that Miss Kim was bringing everybody every year through, having the event for Cordell Handy, who was murdered by St. Paul police. But what I wanted in my heart was to start a support group, something where outside of the rallies and outside of our press conferences that we do to put pressure, I felt in my heart that it was something that we needed to support each other inside. And so we're going through so much. This is so heavy. It's really painful. It's a pain that really is really hard to describe. And the only people that would really know how this feels is people who actually took this loss. And so every single week for the last almost 2.5 years, we have been meeting, having support group meetings. Some of them are strategy meetings where we are strategizing to, figure out our next plans. And then we have meetings where we are just talking about our feelings and emotions and things that we're going through. But that the reason why I started, the root is me losing the father of my son, and then just meeting all these other families and realizing that we really needed to support each other as much as possible.
We're talking to Toshira Garraway, the founder of Family Support and Families Against Police Violence. There's families where we're supporting this week, actually, Tuesday. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, this upcoming Tuesday, it will be, we already, Jefford Smith was a young man who was shot 49 to 52 times by the St. Paul police in the back of a residential home. And we are currently going through a whole thing with his case, but we wanted to just uplift his mother and uplift his family, being that his birthday just passed. His birthday was April 18th. So we just thought, just to add some light to his name, uplift and amplify his name, we're going to do something this upcoming Tuesday at the governor's mansion. It will be a balloon release. And then I'm going to try to get some cupcakes and stuff out there, just because it is, and just do something to amplify his name and be there to support his family, because that's what it's all about. His family is left without him. His mom is hurting very bad behind all of this, and they're doing an investigation on his case and everything. So that's really triggering for her. She texted me the other day and said to sure it just hurts so bad, like just kind of going through all of that. So, but yeah, we'll be doing that Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, the 26th. It will be starting at 4:30 p.m. and we'll be outside in front of the governor's mansion, and we'll be releasing balloons. We'll say a prayer, have a few speakers, and then just love on that family.
No doubt. We're talking to Toshira from Family Support and Families Against Police Violence. Please like and share this program. It will be rebroadcasted on www.blacktvs.com for people who want to get in touch with you, or who might need help, or who might need this support, or just any other organizations that might be check this out. How can they get in touch with you?
So we have a Facebook page called Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence. And if you press on the message part of it, it'll go straight to the email that reaches either me or the people that help me on my team. So the message will get to me. And so you can do that. So again, it's Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence, or we also have the email, which is F as in Frank, S as in Sam, F as in Frank, A as in Apple, P as in Paul, V. So FSFAPV at gmail.com. That is the direct email address. And then also we have the website, which is www.fsfapv.org. And that's just every letter of the first letter of every word in Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence.
No doubt. And just a reminder, this is this Tuesday at the Governor's Mansion. Jofford Smith was shot over like 55, close to 55 times. He had bullet holes in the bottom of his feet, like under his arms. So he was laying down and being shot and things like that. And I know people are going to ask about it, but we were actually Black St. Paul at that time, and that even broke us up because we knew that the police narrative was untrue, and then another side believed the narrative, only to come back a year later and said, "I believe you now." So we figured, we knew what happened to Jofford wasn't right, and we're gonna be out there Tuesday in solidarity with the family of Jofford Smith to demand justice for Jofford and all stolen lives. And just real quick, just want to thank you for all the work you're doing, standing up for the youth, standing up for Marcos and all these families. Please keep up the good work, and just hit us with that website one more time so people know.
The website is www.fsfapv.org, or you can the email is fsfapv@gmail.com.
All right. Thank you for coming on. It's taking a little time out your evening to give us this very important information. Look forward to having you back on the show soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, my brother. And you keep up the good work and just being out here fighting with us, because we appreciate you so much. Thank you guys for having me this evening.
No problem. God bless you. Peace.
You too. Bye-bye.
And that was Toshira Garraway from Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence. Make sure you go to that website and show her support for the work she's doing in the fight that she continues to fight with. There's a lot of talk. People are getting upset about things. I just want to say, and I'm saying it with love, like, but the Black Lives Matter Minnesota chapter is the most successful chapter in the world, or in America for sure. And we can point to our track record and show you. So we shouldn't have to ask for nothing. You should come to us and give it to us because we are effective, and we want other people to be effective in their work. So if you're doing gun violence work, we want you to be effective, right? But if you've been getting money over the last couple years and gun violence is at an all-time high on your watch, then you can't be really out here complaining and stuff. And if other people are coming to the table now and saying, hey, we got something that we want to introduce, you shouldn't hate on that. Let them implement that, or try to come together and work together. But we need to stop fighting and arguing over crumbs. Our community cannot afford that right now. These kids are getting shot. People are dying. You're saying there's all this gun violence. Then if you're the one who's supposed to stop it, then you need to stop it, or let other people get a chance, or help you, or work with you. Shout out to my man Hawk Newsom. He made a very great point about Eric Adams, the mayor of New York. And he says, I'm not going to say what Hawk goes in, man. Shout out to Hawk. But he was just like, the mayor in New York is deflecting. So there was some shootings out there. And then the mayor was like, I thought Black Lives Matter, instead of addressing his failure to stop gun violence. He's going to put it, it's not Black Lives Matter's New York's job to fight gun violence. It's the mayor's job, the mayor of New York's job to fight gun violence. So don't, when gun violence starts happening in your community, don't start saying, well, where's Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter, our job is to address police misconduct. And I think over the last 2 to 3 years, since 2017, Black Lives Matter Minnesota has been leading on that in Minnesota with our partners. So when you say Black Lives Matter Minnesota, that is the organization founded by Monique Collers Doty and myself, Trahern Crews. But when you say Black Lives Matter in Minnesota, that's talking about us along with Toshira, who you just seen, TCC for J, Racial Justice Network, Native Lives Matter. So there's a group that's Black Lives in Minnesota, but the organization Black Lives Matter Minnesota is co-founded by Monique Collers Doty and myself, Trahern Crews. In this chapter, and the groups we work with can point to our body of work that shows that we are the most successful chapter in America. But it's not about that. It's for all of us in America to come together and stop police brutality and institutional racism and share resources while we're doing it. So I just wanted to add that in there because there's a lot of talk going around about gun violence, who should be stopping it, how it should. If you want Black Lives Matter Minnesota to stop gun violence, that's not our job. But some of the work we do is going to reduce some of the gun violence. A lot of the work that we're doing. So also, Minnesota is leading on the reparations issue. In a couple months, you're going to see how that starts to impact gun violence. Okay, so we're going to keep doing our part and being effective and efficient, right? And we want to help you do the same because our community's at stake and we can't afford failure right now. So to my YouTube audience and Facebook audience, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to another edition of the Trahern Crews show. Keep it locked right here. Go to www.blacktvs.com to check this out. Check this show out and other great programming. We had a great event with Representative John Thompson over the weekend at Unity Cafe. Shout out to Unity Cafe for hosting us and hosting the people there over the weekend. We just came together to talk about some issues that are important to the community. I think a lot of us will be at Rondo this Saturday discussing what's important to the community. So come on out to Rondo, the Taste of Rondo this Saturday night, upcoming Saturday night, and you can even sing some karaoke. You dig? Also, this Tuesday at the Governor's Mansion, you just heard it, will be in solidarity with the family of Joffrey Smith, who was shot over 55 times by the St. Paul Police Department. So we'll be uplifting him up. We got the George Floyd Memorial coming up May 25th through the 28th. So that's going to be a big weekend. Then we're looking forward to Juneteenth, the Dred and Harriet Scott Juneteenth Father's Day boat ride is coming up, and you'll be able to get those tickets soon at www.blacklivesmattersmn.com. We're going to jump into some music. I want to thank you all for tuning in and have a great and successful week. To the people on Facebook checking this out, share this program, like this program. And again, it's going to be rebroadcasted on www.blacktvs.com. Also, this Thursday, the city of St. Paul is having its final session, reparations info session. You can go to the stpaul.gov to sign up for this Thursday's last St. Paul Recovery Act reparations info session. I want to thank Jane Prince, the St. Paul City Council, Mayor Melvin Carter, the St. Paul Recovery Act steering committee members, the St. Paul Recovery Act Legislative Advisory Committee members. You've been doing some really good things. You put together one of the most powerful, clear, and concise reparations ordinance in the United States. But again, it's for all of us to look at, to work off. It's for our ordinance can be a model for the people in Ohio, will be a model for the people in Ohio, for the people in Texas, for the people in Pennsylvania, for the people in New York. And then some of the work that they're going to do, God willing, will be a model for us too. So thank you all for tuning in again on Facebook and YouTube. Here to our audience on the Frogtown, we're going to jump into some music right now, right here on the Trahern Crews Show, 94.1 FM, Frogtown, tuned in radio. All right, peace.